I am Mr. P. Balabrahmaya, the President of India and the Head of the State of India as per law. I would like to bring to the notice of the public that how I am the President of India as per law, and how Mrs. Draupadi Murmu is not a President of India, how her position is illegal and unconstitutional, and the manner in which Article 52 of the Constitution of India has been violated, and its impact on the governments in the state of India. First, I would like to state that how I am the President of India. I filed my nomination on 28th June 2022. My nomination was initially got through, and on 30th June, in the final scrutiny, my nomination was rejected by the returning officer of the Election Commission of India on the basis of the section 5B1A of the President of India and the Vice President of India Election Act 1952, amended in 1974 and 1997. Actually, this section is a null. Why this section is null? Because when there is a conflict between the higher constitutional norm of Article 58 of the Constitution and the lower legislative norm of the parliamentary legislation, the statute will lose its validity and becomes null. That cannot be annulled. Therefore, my nomination was rejected on the basis of null. Null means it is not at all a legal norm. So, my nomination was rejected by the returning officer without any basis of the law. Then, what was the validity of the nomination as on the day of the election? As on the day of the election, my nomination was in force or in validity. But due to the forceful rejection of my nomination by the returning officer, I could not participated in the election process. Since my participation was forced out of the election process by the illegal decision of the returning officer, I was forced to have been elected or deemed to have been elected to the position of the President of India. Since I was deemed to have been elected to the position of the President of India as on 25th July 2022, the day of the swearing-in ceremony to Mrs. Draupadi Murmu, I was deemed to be the President of India. When I was deemed to be the President of India, the erstwhile Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of India should have been conducted the swearing-in ceremony to me, but due to his lack of knowledge about the legal concepts of null and annul, he conducted the swearing-in ceremony to Mrs. Draupadi Murmu, whose electoral outcome was null and void ab initio. Therefore, what is the legal position of mine? The legal position of mine is, first, number one, my nomination was rejected on the basis of Null means without any basis of law. Number 2, due to the rejection of my nomination without any basis of law by the returning officer, I was deemed to have been elected to the position of the President of India. Number 3, since I was deemed to have been elected to the position of the President of India, I was deemed to be the President of India as on 25th July 2022. Fourth one, the swearing in ceremony under Article 60 of the Constitution of India was also deemed to have been conducted by the Supreme Court of India, since the reasons already told. So therefore, what is my position as on today? As on today, I am the President of India and the head of the state of India as per law. As a President of India and the head of the state of India, I am entitled for the entitlements under Article 59(3) of the Constitution of India. The same thing was represented to the secretary to the presidential secretariat initially, but he did not take any action. Subsequently also, I addressed to the cabinet secretary, to the home secretary, to the Ministry of External Home Affairs, and to the presidential secretariat. Apart from normal representations, I also issued 2 office orders in the capacity of the President of India. On 24th December 2025, one office order was issued. On 1st June 2026, the second office order was issued. These 2 office orders were also rejected or not taken into account by these secretaries of the permanent executive. This is the position as on today regarding my position as a President of India. Next thing is, I would like to tell you about how Mrs. Draupadi Murmu was not a legally and constitutionally elected President of India. Mrs. Draupadi Murmu's nomination or candidature was also validated by the returning officer on the basis of the section which I mentioned earlier, that is section 5B1A. As I have told you already, it is a null. When the section is null, her candidature or nomination was not a legally valid one. When her nomination or candidature was not a legally valid one, how the electors or electoral college members consisting of both the houses of the parliament and the elected members of the legislative assemblies voted for a candidate who was not legally valid. However, they voted for the candidate in the presidential election. What was the validity of the vote? When they voted for a candidate whose candidature was not at all legally valid, the vote was null and void. The vote has no validity. When the vote was no validity, the entire election process was null and void only. Therefore, the electoral outcome of Mrs. Draupadi Murmu was null and void ab initio. When her election was null and void ab initio, how the returning officer of the election commission had declared that Mrs. Draupadi Murmu had been duly elected to the position of President of India. It was wrong, it was illegal and unconstitutional. Based on the declaration of the President returning officer, the erstwhile Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of India conducted a swearing-in ceremony on 25th July 2022 to Mrs. Draupadi Murmu under Article 60 of the Constitution of India. When the electoral outcome was null and void, when the declaration was illegal and unconstitutional, how the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court conducted the swearing-in ceremony? He conducted the swearing-in ceremony because he did not have the legal knowledge that the both concepts of null and NR. He didn't know the difference between null and NR. So he conducted the swearing-in ceremony to Mrs. Draupadi Murmu. Since he conducted the swearing-in ceremony without basis of the law and the constitutional law, the swearing-in ceremony was illegal and unconstitutional. When the swearing-in ceremony was illegal and unconstitutional, the occupation and continuation in the position of the President of India by Mrs. Draupadi Murmu has been illegal, illegitimate and unconstitutional since 25/7/2022. Therefore, what is the position of the office of the President of India as on today? The position of the office of the President of India is a break or vacuum. This break or vacuum occurred 4 years back. Next, I will deal with Article 52 of the Constitution of India. When the President of India office is occupied by an illegal, illegitimate and unconstitutional candidate, it is a fact that there is a break or vacuum in the position of the President of India. The Article 52 says that there shall be a President of India. What does it mean? When it says that there shall be a President of India means the position of the President of India should be occupied by a legally valid candidate only. When the person or candidate who has no legal validity occupies the position, it is a break, it is a vacuum. Therefore, the vacuum took place in the position of the office of the President of India as on 25/7/2022. That break or vacuum is still continuing. So, the break or vacuum resulted in the violation of Article 52. The violation of the Article 52, it is a very significant article. Therefore, it resulted in the loss of the legal validity of the three organs: the legislature, the executive political and the judiciary, including the Supreme Court of India. Thereby, the government of India also lost its legal validity. But the personnel who are manning these organs have been discharging their functions since 25/7/2022, though they lack legal validity. Now we understood what is the constitutional and legal position of the government of India as on today. The three organs have lost their legal validity, but the personnel manning the organs are discharging their functions without any interruption, without basis of law. When they are discharging the functions, who has to address this problem? Who has to make them vacate their seats? It is the responsibility of the cabinet secretary. When the three organs have lost their legal validity, only the permanent executive is having a legal validity as on the day of 25/7/2022 and also as of today. It is the only permanent executive headed by the cabinet secretary which is legally valid. So, it is the responsibility of the cabinet secretary to make them vacate the positions occupied by the persons who are dealing with the organs of the government. But the cabinet secretary is not discharging the duty. Actually, he should bear the responsibility for implementing the orders or commands of the three organs since 25/7/2022. But he is not aware of the fact. I don't know. He may be under the impression that nobody is going to touch him or question him. But whatever the fact, the position is as of today. I am the President of India as per law, but the Cabinet Secretary or the Secretary to the President of India or the Home Secretary are not recognizing this fact. Mrs. Draupadi Murmu's position has been illegal, unconstitutional since 25/7/2022, but the permanent executive is not taking any action to see that she vacate the position. And all the three organs also lost their legal validity. They are also discharging the functions without any basis of law. But it is the responsibility of the cabinet secretary to see that they have to vacate their positions. But the cabinet secretary is not discharging these functions. So, as on today, there is no government in terms of law at the center. Not only at the center, when the position of the President of India has been legally invalid, all the state governments also lost their legal validity. In one word, what we can say that the governments in the state of India, both at the center and at the state levels, are functioning without any basis of law. This is the factual position, but nobody is able to understand this constitutional crisis. It is actually a breakdown of the constitution, but the things are going on without noticing by anybody. Even the Bar Association of India or any other legal experts in India are unable to understand the constitutional breakdown prevailing in the state of India. This is the sad state of affairs. It is prevailing as on today. So, I am placing this matter before the public to know about the facts of the prevailing situation in the state of India. Thank you very much.